Test for your balcony, come down to Test Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Test Plus, Test Plus, Test Plus. Big test with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus, need all kind of tests, come down to Test Plus. We are so glad that's why and vanity. Boss, dos, you'll see. Come down to my nobody, we got the best as an island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Jugo Village, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Test Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Actually, today is World Health Day around the world. And as I mentioned, it's also the birthday of the World Health Organization. And today the focus for them is on healthy beginnings, hopeful futures. And the focus there on child and maternal health. They're pointing out that every 7 seconds, a woman or newborn dies or a baby is lost to stillbirth. And they're pointing out, the WHO, that most of these deaths are preventable with quality health care before, during, and after childbirth. Of course, right here in St. Lucia, recall one of the things that the Ministry of Health has been rolling out as part of their universal health care initiative is really a focus on mother and child health. And according to Ministry of Health data, St. Lucia's fertility rate has dropped from 1.58 in 2015 to 1.13 in 2024. And that is far, far below the replacement rate of 2.1 needed for population sustainability. So effectively, the current trajectory means that we are pretty much in the same boat with many, many developed world countries, many European countries, as well as Asian countries, the likes of Italy and well, not Spain to some degree as well as Japan, countries that have had notoriously low childbirth or fertility rates. And what that has meant is that, in fact, in the year 2018, we were speaking of under 2,000 childbirths, births a year, live births a year, that year. It was at 1,902, according to the Ministry of Health data. In the year past, 2024, that actually went down even more, and in fact was 1,434. And you can just think back. We were once upon a time we were talking about 4,000 births a year back in the 1980s, when we were seeing a peak of our fertility rates, very, very strong growth rates in the 1960s and 70s and 80s. This current trend certainly is certainly going to be very worrying in terms of the island's demographics and what this certainly could potentially mean looking into the future of the population. Of course, got a sense of that as well. This being corroborated, we should say, by the census data which came out just last year, indicating that the population was about 172,000, is it, or thereabouts? And effectively, it meant that over the past 10 years, the population did not really increase. The net increase on average was actually just about 500 per year. And that kind of, is consistent with what we're seeing in terms of the dropping numbers. Of course, remember, we have a situation of about 1,900, well, back in 2018, it would have been 1,900 new borns, and then of course you've got to subtract the individuals who are dying, and that's been around 1,000 roughly over the past couple of years. So effectively, the net of that has been going down, and so now we're seeing really a very worrying trend overall. The positives from that is that infant mortality is down, as well as maternal mortality. Great improvements in those. Infant mortality back in 2017 was 31.5 for every 1,000 births, and it's by 2020 that figure was 8.7 for every 1,000 births. Maternal mortality improved significantly. It was as high as 159 per 100,000 of the population, and that easily came down by nearly 75% over that, in fact, to 41.3 for every 100,000 of the population. And that was a shift between 2010 and 2024. So certainly the message is still that there's a need for improvement in terms of the overall numbers of persons actually giving birth, but the conditions have improved, and the outcomes of successful pregnancies and deliveries have certainly improved significantly over the past 5 years or so. The Ministry of Health continues to strengthen maternal and newborn health through more access to critical obstetric services, empowering women through education, management of high-risk pregnancies, emergency obstetric and neonatal training, point of care for HIV syphilis testing, and strong partnerships with agencies around the world, including PAHO and UNICEF. So that note coming from the Ministry of Health on World Health Day, and certainly something to take note of. There are many things that we sometimes take for granted in this current era. Just recently, for example, we know that this ongoing exercise validating the ensuring that bilharzia is not a threat in our waters right now, and that's been going on by the Ministry of Health. It was a huge issue, however, in decades gone by, and of course, significant efforts through the likes of the Rockefeller Foundation towards eliminating this threat. Even right now, just there's an outbreak of measles in parts of Texas. And in fact, I think just today, recording another death, I think the second child, in fact, have died from measles over in Texas. And remember, this is a country that is, it's part of a country that is very developed, one of the best healthcare systems in the world. But then, of course, and this is the issue that we face right now, we now have to be dealing with lots of misinformation, lots of challenges that are eroding people's confidence in the healthcare that is available, to the extent that we are seeing many individuals, in fact, not getting vaccinated, and that is leading to major issues with dealing with these things, which we thought were pretty much a thing of the past, right? Children having to die from measles. And of course, in the instances thus far, those children, unfortunately, who've died were not vaccinated. So in as much as we're making progress in the world and in terms of generally in terms of healthcare, unfortunately, we can see things that can change so very quickly. A lot of the progress that has been made, for example, was through much effort in terms of aid, development aid that was going into things like tackling issues of malaria and smallpox. And we've seen challenges in some countries in dealing with a lot of other major scourges, and HIV, for example. And there was this effort at play across the world to be able to address some of these issues. And certainly the United States has been or had been leading major proponent in terms of being able to do that. Of course, President Bush back some years back was the one who pushed towards the efforts at HIV/AIDS and ensuring that drugs were going to be made available in many countries around the world. And a lot of these efforts, unfortunately, are now all at threat due to significant policy changes, or if you want to call them policy pauses, we don't even know, or tinkering with the system. And we can see sometimes it doesn't take much by way of just one individual perhaps can in fact make that decision. And it really speaks to the importance of leadership in these situations. It's yes, we can have checks and balances, but at the same time, this is a country, the United States of America, that has lots of checks and balances. But checks and balances, unfortunately, take time. And sometimes the person you put in charge is the person who has the first ability to respond and to act. That's the executive authority. And as much as you want to have safeguards, sometimes it takes time for the safeguards to respond. And sometimes by the time you catch up, the damage is already done. And this is certainly a message that we all need to take into account when we think about governance and thinking about ensuring that we certainly have responsible leadership, and that is certainly very, very important at this time. Of course, the world is in a very, very turbulent period. Some may call it a tailspin when we're looking at what is happening in terms of the investment climate. This is one of the first areas where we're seeing the immediate shocks of the attempt by the Donald Trump administration to introduce sweeping, wide-ranging tariffs, which have effectively precipitated what appears to be the start of a trade war. Some may say that it already started when we saw the actions towards Mexico and China even earlier on, as well as Europe earlier on, and of course Canada. And that has certainly been something that we have been watching for the past couple of months. And now, of course, it's everybody's business because nearly every single country, barring a few, like Russia, like Israel, are now facing at least the imposition of a 10% tariff on goods coming into the United States of America. And of course, the United States of America is a major, it's the world's only superpower. It is the world's largest economy. It is the world's largest buyer of goods from around the world. Certainly, by extension, the world's largest importer, and the world's second largest exporter as well. And so, of course, the matter of trade right now is a very, very critical one with serious implications that may very well lead to a very deep crisis. And of course, many are predicting the potential for recessions. We are seeing a significant backlash. And of course, the retaliatory efforts of some countries in response to what is going on. Now, of course, we do have some statements which we want to share, and one of them is actually coming from the current chair of CARICOM, that of the Honorable Mia Motley. She is the lead right now in terms of the Caribbean community, and she gave an address which we have available right here on And I think we want to be able to share that with you at this time. I speak to all our chat.
Thank you.
That was Chair of the Caribbean Community as well as Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Mia Motley, speaking there on the current crisis and trade tariffs which have been imposed across the board by the United States of America. That's our dish of the day. When we come back, we'll take in our weather report and then some questions and some other matters, actually, which we want to share as well.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. Need all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Pots, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Lance Road in Castries, Bosses Grocery Lanes, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have tiles and tin sets, pieces and ground. Everything you need is on the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality rice, service choice. It's all at Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewport Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style, Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And that's what the course of the 1.1 is now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style, Tile and Bath. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours, winds will be blowing from between the east, northeast, and east near 21 miles per hour or 33 kilometers per hour. The weather affected partly cloudy skies with a few scattered showers at first. Gradual increase in cloudiness with scattered moderate to heavy showers and possibly isolated thunderstorms are expected from early tomorrow morning. There was also an advisory in the air which reads small craft operators and sea beavers are advised to exercise caution due to brisk winds and locally rough seas. The forecast for Los Angeles, partly cloudy to cloudy skies with scattered showers, periods of rain, and possibly isolated thunderstorms over the Windward Islands and areas further south. Elsewhere, fair to partly cloudy skies with a few showers. And the weather summary, low-level moisture and instability enhanced with an upper-level jet stream will cause cloudy periods with scattered moderate to heavy showers, periods of rain and possibly isolated thunderstorms over the southern half of the Les Antilles from today into tomorrow. Relatively dry and stable conditions will prevail over the remainder of the region during the forecast period. Also, the Atlantic high pressure system will continue to generate moderate to brisk easterly winds and locally rough seas across the Eastern Caribbean region over the next few days. And this was your weather forecast as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style, Tile and Bath.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island Style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island Style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island Style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island Style.
We have tiles
and princess, pieces and brown. Everything you need to start the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. So call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style, Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And you can also reach us at our WhatsApp number, 724-0008. And of course, unfortunately, the situation in terms of stocks, all are suggesting that they have been down. They have entered what is known as a bear market territory, in that we've seen a significant amount of decline from the peak over the past couple of days. I think, at least in the case of some of these countries, some of these markets, stock exchanges, they're seeing declines of up to 10%. I think the Hang Seng in China was seeing that. Nikkei over in Japan was opened very badly this morning, giving a sense as to where things were going. And of course, we saw 2 consecutive days of an average of 5% drops in the US markets, and considerable amount of money being pulled away effectively or taken out of these stock exchanges. As to where it's going to all end up, of course, that's a big question, because everybody is at this point in a state of uncertainty, and they want to be trying to save what they can, and to see where they can perhaps reinvest later on, or to shift their money around. And of course, so that kind of instability, it means that people may very well be investing less. And once you've got that sort of situation, you're going to see a slowdown in activity, because you effectively are taking out capital from the private sector. People are seeing what is going on, and they're gonna get worried about investing in certain entities, because therefore for them, the likelihood of potential recession or the likelihood of slowdowns are going to actually be materializing. And so, of course, they want to reduce on their losses. And that, of course, precipitates a consistent contraction. So companies are going to be thinking, well, you know what, I'm not going to be investing in this anymore. We can't afford that anymore. We're going to have to lay off individuals to be able to meet our targets. And then, of course, that means implications in terms of domestic spending. Once you're talking about layoffs, we've already seen a significant amount of layoffs from the federal government. And so a lot of it is going to be very, very tumultuous in this regard. One of the biggest losers in all of this, from what a lot of people have been suggesting, is in fact probably going to be the United States itself. The United States has had a very, very successful run, certainly over the past decade or so. Their economy has been outperforming a lot of other places in the developed world, particularly that of Europe. And that point is being made by a gentleman by the name of Fareed Zakaria on CNN, and giving his analysis of what appears to be effectively a Donald Trump who is fighting perhaps an old war of maybe the 1960s and 70s, and is not really set in terms of the reality of what is actually going on. And that is that the United States is not as bad as he makes it out to be. That the fact is that they, in fact, are doing considerably well compared to other countries, certainly. And so this argument that he needs to make America great again, and somehow bring America back into the period of the 1890s, which we had flagged some time back with a great level of concern that his rewriting of history seemed very, very off. And so let's take a listen to this piece from CNN's Fareed Zakaria on the Donald Trump policies.
That's my take. Liberation.
Right, that piece coming from CNN's Fareed Zakaria, of course, giving context to what seems to be the thinking behind President Donald Trump and the push towards trying to set tariffs across the board. Now, of course, a lot of his ire has to do with that of China, and there's no doubt about it that things have shifted significantly with respect to China over the years, maybe back by, and certainly over the past 40 years or so. If you look back in time, many countries were far larger than China in terms of their own economies. Canada was a larger economy than China back in 1980. Great Britain was a larger economy. Germany, of course. Many countries were far larger than China. But and so certainly the real success story of the past 30, 40 years has been a consistent rewriting of the position of China. China has outpaced pretty much everybody else. And not just China, but certainly Asia in general has been the center of significant amount of growth, in the world. And that has been to the benefit of the world in general. It has certainly impacted generally a better quality of life for more people in the world, and of course, particularly in Asia. And should that be seen as a bad thing? Should that be seen as something that should not be encouraged? It seems that in the case of Mr. Trump's thinking, it can either be one or the other. You can't be running any types of trade imbalances. And so the big question is, well, what happens when, in fact, if the United States was somehow miraculously running trade surpluses for every single country in the world? But truth be told, in fact, in a lot of instances, as the point was being made by Mr. Zakaria, that the United States does actually have a lot more surpluses, but the surpluses are no longer in just physical assets, in terms of physical goods. The United States projects its strength in terms of technology, in terms of entertainment. It is the leader in a significant amount of areas, whether it's in film, in movies, in music, in events, in so many different areas. And of course, in financial services, I think nearly a quarter of the U.S. economy is somehow tied to financial services and insurance and what have you. And so it has a major footprint all around the world. And so even though it may not necessarily be in terms of the dollar value of manufactured goods having a surplus, many of these other countries are still dependent on the United States for other things that they need to be able to operate, like the financial services. When you look at the technology that is driving a lot of the factories and the systems that exist, a lot of that is dependent on American software and American expertise coming out from a lot of these areas. So it certainly is not truly painting a very fair picture in terms of what is happening in the world based on what we are seeing right now with respect to the actions being taken. But of course, what is even far worrying for the Caribbean is the matter of our very strong dependence and reliance on the United States as an intermediary for our world trade. And so we depend on the United States as our market. This is where many people go to buy goods. And so that means that we are at risk. And when you think of an industry, for example, a sector that has boomed over the past couple of years here in St. Lucia, that of online shopping, much of the online shopping that we see is tied to a good being brought into the United States. And so, therefore, and a lot of it may not be necessarily originating from the United States. You know, you've got a lot of people who are purchasing things maybe from a Chinese supplier, but they depend on a U.S. postal address to bring those goods in, and then that serves as an intermediary to bring in the items into St. Lucia, right? And so we've got a lot of companies that do that type of thing. What happens now when we're looking at a lot of these items which before were coming into the US without any tariffs, without any charges, the purchases out of China that are under a certain value of whatever, so $800 or whatnot, they now are going to be charged. And so this major trade war with China is effectively is going to have almost a direct impact on the ability and purchasing power of individuals. And so many things that people enjoy right now, the ability to be able to go on and just buy clothes and items or whatever, and you're getting it out of China, but you're dropping it off through your PO box or whatever it is in the States. That is going to be impacted, certainly. So we're going to be feeling this in very, very, very many ways. And it has implications, certainly, for a lot of various sectors that have developed effectively around the use of the United States as our lead trading partner. We're not in this alone. Certainly, it's the same situation with respect to Canada, for example. Canada is a major producer of oil, and a lot of that is produced in the province of Alberta. The oil sands up there have been producing, I think, close to about 5 million barrels of oil a day. And the vast majority of that oil heads across by pipeline into the United States of America. And I mean, over 90%, nearly 100%, I think it's like about 97% of the oil was heading to the United States of America. And to the extent that even oil that had to get to other parts of Canada, to the other provinces, like where most of the population is, Ontario and Quebec, had to pass through the United States of America to get to those other provinces. And look at the situation right now with respect to U.S.-Canada relations and the challenges that are at play. So never a good idea to put all your eggs in one basket. And it's certainly many countries are seeing the implications of this in the world right now. It's a similar situation that Europe had to be dealing with respect to Ukraine and Russia, and of course, depending on Russian oil and gas. And now, of course, many other countries are seeing the implications of this, having these singular dependence on particular trading partners. So it therefore means for the world that very, very quickly, the wiring of the world in terms of logistics is going to have to change. If, in fact, we are going to be able to survive moving forward and to become more resilient. And so, of course, precisely the point that was being made by Mia Motley, that we're certainly going to have to be looking at those matters more critically. Can we continue to only depend on U.S. shipping companies to be able to support the trade that goes on in the Caribbean? Will we be depending solely on South Florida ports to be able to bring in the food that we depend on in the Caribbean? And so some major questions have to be placed. And of course, there are options and there are opportunities, even in our backyard, so to speak, which perhaps we had in the past that we have forgotten. It is certainly the effort of many Caribbean national who went across to Central America who went into Panama to be able to construct the Panama Canal, right? Which is what the world enjoys today as a major shipping route to bring trade from the Pacific into the Atlantic. That was done by Caribbean people in great measure. Many of them who even lost their lives. And we certainly do need to see how we can leverage and work with that legacy to our benefit. And so we need to make it our business, certainly, not just in being the workers that are making things happen, but certainly in terms of our own ability to trade. The Caribbean definitely needs to be looking at it as a strategic opportunity as we move forward. So that's our dish of the day. That's our program for today, sorry. And we'll be back again tomorrow for another one. We do hope that you can join us for that. I'm your host, Calix George Jr., saying goodbye.